Hello and welcome. In today's video we're going to be talking about gear and what you should look out for, and there will be no PvP, so be warned. So I've seen a lot of people comment like, what kind of gear do I need? What kind of stats do I need to go for? And they're just not sure, and Druid is quite complicated because you have Panther, you have Bear, you have a hybrid, and currently the gear is so switched up that all the other videos don't make sense, like the older ones. So I'm gonna talk about what I think is good. It doesn't necessarily mean it's the best, but I've played a lot of hours, like at this point, like 1800 or something, purely Druid. So yeah, I think I know a decent amount, but you can always decide for yourself, right? I'm just sharing my opinion. My current best in slot kit for Panther is this. I opt for lace turn shoes, which are the logical ones, with 2 vigor. Now the thing is, you kind of want health, but you can't decide what's gonna drop for you, right? So you can also get like lace turn shoes like this. You have a bit more agility, but the rolls are horrible. So you have to question, like, is the 2 vigor worth more than the 1 agility? And I think you need both defense and offense. Just getting 38 agility won't do anything. So you have to weigh the two and decide for yourself, okay, is this tanky enough? Do I need more damage, etc. I would say aim for at least 30 agility, some true fizz here and there. These are the best ones to craft because you can guarantee the 1 true fizz and they have not been nerfed and they really help with damage. So if you aim for 30 agility and just craft true fizz where you can, your damage is going to be fine, right? 36 is really nice, but you don't need 36. 30 could be fine. Now, for health, like, it's just whatever you can get besides the agility. So you want more. You always want more. But again, you can't decide what's going to drop. So I'm trying to find stuff with pre-rolled health because currently you can't really craft health. It's horrible. So you kind of have to find it with health. And I've played a lot and I have not been that lucky. So, and maybe you also won't be that lucky. You mainly just want to stack it as much as you can. And that's pretty much it, right, for Panther kit. You want around 30 agility and then as much HP as you can get. But other stats, which are good, strength for physical power bonus, but also for the one time you switch to bear and you slam, you do a bit more damage. It also gives half an HP point, so it's also a bit defensive. Other stats that are good are action speed, but you can also get dexterity, which is also action speed. And yeah, that's pretty much what you want, right? Vigor, agility, strength. There are quite a few options you can go for. The only ones you don't want are the spellcaster ones, like knowledge, will, spellcasting speed, etc., right? You don't care about any of that. You just want damage and defense. And again, there's no real baseline to aim for. Just get as much as you can besides the 30 agility. And even without 30 agility, if it's like 27, 28, that's also fine. You just have to outplay people a bit more in certain fights. Now, bear is a bit more preference based, I think. I think this is quite standard. Yeah, people can't really argue with it because it just depends on what you find. If you can find a Regal Gambison with 3 agility on them, that's way better than this, right? But I found nothing that is both defensive and gives me the agility. So you could technically just say, you know what, I don't care about the agility, I just care about defenses, and then just build something like this, right? Just get the max health, get the 2 strength, try and craft agility on it, maybe you get 2, and then it's really great, right? Honestly, I might do that. Kind of sounds quite good, actually. If I get 2 agility. Oh. Okay, well. Well, that's better. Okay, never mind. Don't listen to me. This is trash. But yeah, now you have a bit more defenses, 2 more HP. You have 2 more strength, so you do a bit more damage with Bear, you do a bit more damage with Panther. So yeah, this is better. So this is what I mean, right? You can just find gear that normally wouldn't be good because you can get better gear with the marketplace. But now there is no marketplace, and you actually have to think about gear. And even I didn't really think about it that much. But yeah, you just have to look at the gear and see what makes sense. Because same for this, you look at this and you're like, well, isn't this better than this? Because this is 3 agility. But then you look at the rest of the stats and the movement speed is kind of whatever. The projectile damage reduction is kind of whatever. The true medical damage is kind of whatever. So you're pretty much comparing 3 agility to 2 agility with action speed and true fizz. And then I'd say this is way better, because a true fist is worth a bit more in damage than agility. So already the true fist makes up for it, and then you have an additional 1.5% action speed. Now, obviously, you could actually craft true fist on this, but then you're spending epic gems, which are a lot more rare. Now, I have enough of them, but you might not have enough of them, right? So in that case, it's way better to go for this. And now another one that's important for a bear kit. Okay, let's look at this gear, right? So if you want to craft, let's say, action speed on it, you can either go for action speed or dex. Now, if you get 2 dex, it's about as good as the max roll on action speed, but you also get weapon equip speed, right? It's just generally a bit better than just pure action speed. And the low roll is slightly better on action speed than on the dexterity, but it's about the same. But that's not the only thing you have to keep in mind, right? Because I have a lot fewer of these gems than of these. So if they're about the same, I'm way better off crafting this. So you have to manage it all well. Because as a druid, you're going to need a lot of these for trying to craft agility. And even other stats, like trying to get strength. So these are really important. So if you have a lot more of these, just craft the action speed and it's pretty much the same. And that brings me to how do I play bear. Okay, so this is my bear kit currently. I've not fully crafted on it yet, but close enough, I guess. Like for example here, you could argue that an ox pendant would be better, right? You can get an ox pendant with 3 vigor on it, and who knows, like some action speed, like 3% or something. But again, I haven't found that. So I have to make do with what I do find. And what I found so far, I found this, and this is alright, but the only real stat that I care about is the armor, and it's a low roll. So this is pretty much just 3 strength. And the same with this. The physical damage bonus is really nice, but the rest are not really stats I care about. And so you have to keep in mind, like, just because you want better stats doesn't mean you will find it. And that's what I really like about this, but it's also really difficult for newer players, or at least new druid players, to look at the gear and be like, okay, what is worth it? Because you can get this necklace of peace with 2 strength, craft action speed on it, and all of a sudden it's really good. But even certain items like this has 3 strength and 2.4% action speed. Like, in a way, this is really good, but this has a lot more health. But this is definitely usable, right? Normally you wouldn't even look at it, but with strength now being able to roll on amulets, this is actually good. And this, for example, is also really good. Now, I would use this for a hybrid build, but you could use it for a pure strength build as well. Like, you just find stuff with strength on it, even if it's not base strength. But what you can also do, if you have a lot of these gems, is you can have like a necklace of peace. This one has 3 physical power. You could try to get strength on it. And then this can give you up to 2 strength. If you get the 2 strength, it's really good. Because you have the health, the physical power, and the 2 strength. So you have a lot of options. But I'm really short on these, so yeah, I've been spamming a lot already. And I can tell you, I'm not that lucky. But you have a lot of options with gear, even with this. Like this Dark Grove, yeah, it has a bit less strength, like 1 less. But 4 health and 9 armor is actually really good. And as a bear, you have a bit more leeway with stats. Like, you don't need 40 strength. 35 is enough if you have other stats to compensate for it. And that's why I just pick up all these pieces of gear like this. Dexterity and physical power is actually really good. Here, 2 vigor, really nice. Or health on this is really good. So you have other options. Even this, 3 strength, it might not seem great because the rest of the stats are horrible. But 5 vigor is actually really good. And a 3 strength is pretty much the same as this. So you have a lot of options, even though normally it wouldn't have made sense. Like for example, this cloak. Normally you'd want a terror cloak because it has base strength. But if you roll 2 strength on it, the dex is actually really good. And then you get armor. Now instead of the armor, you could craft action speed. And then it's actually a lot better than this. Right? So you just go here, boom, action speed, and this is horrible. But you get the idea, right? Like, this is better because it gives you more action speed. 1% more. So it's actually a lot more action speed. So you have to keep in mind, like some things, even though they seem worse, they're actually better if you know how to craft. And same with this cloth pants, the 2 strength on is really good. And this is really good because you need the action speed. Other options would be like heavy leather leggings with strength on them, or even decks. But you could also use loose trousers with strength, but again, I would prefer to use this for a hybrid build. But you have options. And pretty much when I look at this, I look at how much strength I can get, how much action speed I can get, and then how much HP I can get. Because the HP you get from bear kind of gives you leeway to build something else, and you really need action speed to be able to hit people who are decent. So I would say aim for like 7 to 8% action speed at least, but preferably around 10 to 15%, and then as much strength as you can fit with that, right? So if you can get 35 strength with 10% action speed, that is probably better than if you can get 40 strength with 5% action speed. Because that 5% might actually lend you more hits, and that is the most important part. Because if you don't hit at all, that 5 strength extra is not going to do anything. So other people like to build no action speed. I've seen that a lot. They just build pure HP. I think you could play like that, but you're kind of gambling that whoever you're facing is horrible. Because if you do build it like that, you kind of have to hope they always walk into you. And to be honest, that happens quite frequently. So it is a viable build. But I kind of want to be able to decide if I'm going to fight or not. And I don't want to just wait until they brain dead walk into me. Now, I still kind of have to wait until they brain dead walk into me because that is currently how bears played. But as long as you stack enough action speed, the more you have, the more you can actually force it. So I like more action speed, but you could definitely build more vigor, more health, more armor, and just be slower and just hope people walk into you. Now, you also have the hybrid build. So I have 30 strength with 33 agility. This is really good for a hybrid build. Now, you kind of want strength bases where you can find them with agility on them, and preferably get like a better tunic with agility on it. But again, I couldn't find that, so this is the best I have. Now, loose trousers with strength is really good. You probably want action speed on this, because if you want to play as bear, you kind of want the action speed, but you could also argue you want vigor or HP. But yeah, it's pretty much just you get agility as much as you can, and then strength bases where you can't get agility bases. Now, obviously, this is a bit more gear specific. It's way more difficult to find gear that matches this. That's why when I do find gear that matches this, I don't use it for just a pure Panther or pure bear build, because I want to use it for the hybrid build. But yeah, this gear is a lot more specific. That's why you don't really see people running this yet, because gear for this takes a lot more time. But it has a lot more potential, because I don't have strength on quickness rings yet. But if you find a quickness ring with 2 strength, and then you just craft true fizz on it, that's a lot better. Or if you find a courage ring with 2 agility on them, and then craft true fizz, that's a lot better. Same with your cloak. If you find an adventurer cloak with 2 strength on it, that's a lot better. Likewise with a tether cloak for agility. So there's a lot more potential at the end, but finding that without the marketplace, yeah, that's almost, I would say it's almost impossible. It isn't almost impossible. If you spend like, I don't know, 100 hours, 200 hours full grinding, you'll probably have a decent kit. But yeah, it's not really gonna happen for most people. And I think that's fine. I think a kit like this with 30 strength, 33 agility, with some health, this is good enough, right? This is what you want. That's why I kind of wish the no market thing would last a bit longer, because it's really interesting, it's fun, and it really helps you learn how to build, right? Because you have to actually look at what you have and what you can make with it. Whereas if I tell you need loose trousers with 3 strength and 3 decks, and you go to the marketplace and then you just look for that and you buy that, like, you don't really learn much from that, right? And it's also not that fun. Actually finding your own gear and using them and making them fit your playstyle, that's a lot more fun. So this would be like a decent hybrid build. Your defenses on this are absolutely horrible. Like, no physical damage reduction. Your health is horrible. So it is strong, but you would have to play smart. Like, switch to bear for your defenses and pretty much chase or space well with your Panther. Now you could also play this as pure Panther because the strength really helps, because you get a decent amount of physical power bonus, but I would argue you're leaving a lot of the strength behind in this kind of build. Now if you had 30 strength with 40 agility, there is an argument to be made that you should play primarily in Panther because you just do way more damage and you're way more geared towards playing as Panther. But with these stats, I would argue you have to play both. Now, there are other builds you can play, like Action Speed Panther or Action Speed Bear, but the gear is so specific and you really need to hit certain stat points that without the market, I don't think you should aim for it. Because it's not that much stronger, or I don't think it's stronger at all. And the gear is so much more specific that it's not worth it. And I think that is a bit of a problem with having no market. Like, I really enjoy having no market, but it does kind of kill build variety. But yeah, I mean, there's the good and the bad, right? I think at the start you should have no market, and then towards the end of the wipe you should have a market so you can do whatever. Now, for people who wonder, okay, well, what is the rest of your setup looking like, right? This is the gear, but what else? Like for spells, you run Restore with Nature's Touch, Mending Growth, and Tree End. If you have more memory capacity, you could add Dreamfire. Some people like to poke before they get in.
What do you mean by that?
I don't like the spell, so I don't use it, but you could. You could get Bark Skin or a bit more armor. Again, I don't like it because it gets reduced by so much in Panther that it really doesn't feel like it's worth it. But you could. Some people like Thorn Barrier. I tried playing with it. It's honestly not that great because people can jump over it. But it could be clutch in certain situations because they can't jump over it if they're standing right next to it, right? They need some momentum. So it is kind of good in certain situations, but I wouldn't get the memory capacity purely to get this. If you have it, fine. If you don't have it, whatever. You pretty much just want these. For perks, I use Dreamwalk, Shapeshift Memory, Thorn Coat, and I currently use Sun and Moon. I'm not entirely sure what I want. Like, I think Enhanced Wildness is really good. Like, the 5 additional movement speed is pretty much what you want. It's really good. But I felt kind of weak defensively, so I went for 3 Vigor. The problem with this, and I think it would be a way easier pick, is this gives you an aura. And that aura makes you way more visible. And I don't like that. Because being visible is actually really bad for your engage, right? So generally I would argue to go for Enhanced Wildness. But currently it's so difficult to get health and defenses that I would argue this is maybe a bit better. It's difficult. I don't know. It's preference as well. But yeah, for skills it's easy because you need spell memory and you need shapeshift. And you don't have any more shapeshift than this, so you take all of them. Oh, one last note. For weapons, you have multiple options. You could go for Spellbook and Spear. You could also go for Rondel Dagger and Crystal Ball, which is way faster to pull out, like to equip, but it's way worse for clearing mobs. So if you go for Rondel, you kind of need a spear to clear mobs. The other option is a Morningstar or Flange Mace. These are just decent for clearing mobs. And you can cast spells with the Crystal Ball equipped with it, but they are a lot slower to equip. So yeah, it's a bit difficult because if you use these, you're a bit worse in PvP, but way better in PvE. So it's a bit of a trade-off. I like this personally, but like a Rondel is technically better and a Spellbook and Spear is also technically better, probably. But the difference is quite minor, so again, don't worry too much about it. It doesn't really impact it that much. But it's good to have said. But yeah, I think I've rambled enough. I hope this helps. If you have more questions, just ask away. I'll most likely answer everything, unless there are way too many, but I highly doubt it. But thank you for watching. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you again next video, which is probably PvP. Bye.